Hello. Uh, Summer is rapidly coming. Yeah, it's hot. Uh, My meditation room was without air conditioning, and I like to close the windows to kill the ambient sound. But what I'm discovering today is that it's going to be hot. It's going to get much hotter. It's not even quite 30. And it's not unknown to be up around 37, 36, 34. Pretty common. Median, maybe median temperature. Anyway, we'll see how that goes as the summer progresses. I did bring a fan. The reason I'm having this little intro is I did bring a fan in here and thought that a fan might give me some relief from the heat. Well, I failed to do a test, and at the completion of my video, I tried to watch it again, and you couldn't hear it. The sound of the fan was just multiplied by my microphone. And even if I turned the sound up all the way, all I could hear is like a wind farm. So this is a recreation of the masterpiece I just did 15 minutes ago. I wanted to talk today about the universe, bringing the universe into a context that's more accessible to us, because the all-encompassing, ever-expanding, spiraling universe makes us, understandably so, basically totally insignificant. But despite that, here we are. So in this grand scale, for my purposes, I wanted to bring it down into a more human scale. And what came to mind was Mother Nature. Mother Nature, the Great Mother, has been with us as long as we've had cognitive abilities, and as long as we've been searching for some explanation, searching for a purpose, but finding our place in the scale of things. So Mother Nature became a very useful and ubiquitous. Seemed that there were many commonalities from disparate cultures springing up around the globe. And one of them was a concept of the great creator, which is more the yang, the masculine, and the yin, the great receiver, more of a lunar, feminine, yin concept. But many of these peoples saw the great creator do a job and move on, while the sustainer is the Great Mother, the nurturer. Our source of recreation. So let's take a look at Mother Nature in the hopes that we could apply it to a bigger stage where applicable. I think I will point out some places that my reduction, my substitution of Mother Earth for the universe falls short. But I think for the purposes of this talk, it's not without use. In fact, quite the contrary. Try that again. Quite the contrary. It's exceedingly useful for my purposes. So the title of this chapter is The Universe Giveth and Taketh. Waxing biblical, because the Bible for some reason has been very much on my mind. I've read it several times and find it useful. Where it falls short is the New Testament, when the King James Version puts Jesus' word, God, as they saw it part of the Trinity, words in red, saying that this was God speaking to us. Well, I have another paradigm that's more useful for me. But I was always puzzled. The Bible's been through 30 translations, and I just know from trying to translate from one language to another that it's incredibly complex. So imagine 30 times, and then imagine people today who say, these were his exact words. Well, somehow I suspect that Jesus of Nazareth was not very fluent in English. I don't believe he spoke the English tongue. But people need to believe. And this is a word, I know I use it sometimes, believe, but I pretty much discarded it because beliefs tend to be a way to prop up the ego, to support our sense of what's real, our senses, the information, feedback. It's an attempt to find some meaning in the world, some order. But my order and my meaning are on a much grander scale than Jesus speaking to me and me believing that I have to take it literally. But I do find it useful in the same way that I found the Bhagavad Gita in the Hindu tradition, the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and the Buddhist sutras. Point the way. It's an attempt to point the way. But beliefs don't have much room in what I've seen to be true. So I do use the word I believe, but I'd like to get away from it. So back to the paradigm of Mother Nature. Back to the metaphor of Mother Nature standing in for the universe. Now people try to negotiate, try to bargain with Mother Nature through offerings, prayers, and offerings and prayers are beautiful expressions of human beings. Beautiful. It's only when the expectation, the other shoe drops, and it always does drop. Here we bye-bye, burning joss sticks and bowing, and before we're even finish our prayer, we're already asking, may my son go to the top school. May my daughter find a suitable husband. May I have grandchildren. May I have more money. May I have a new car. It's almost unlimited that we will ask, quid pro quo, in return for. I'm praying, I'm worshiping, so that's my side, that's the give. I'm giving this. I need to take something back. In relationship, today I'm talking about give and take. And I'm talking not about a cosmic scale, but reduced it to a smaller arena so that in the hopes that we can grapple with it. So we bargain, we negotiate. And everybody's aware, we do this in relationship, we do this in politics, we do this in social life. I give you this, and I get that, quid pro quo. I will give you something in return for something. It's a bargain. We use it in human relationships, and somehow we're almost outraged, at least severely disappointed, if we find ourselves giving and not getting anything back. And some of us are callous enough to just take without giving anything back. So relationships seem to be predicated on this give and take, this bargaining. And it's mankind's want, if it works on a human scale, let's carry it on to a cosmic scale. And that's where trouble comes. Mother Nature does not negotiate. The cosmos, in the same manner, does not negotiate. There's no compromise. It is what it is in today's very useful and meaningful parlance. No bargaining. And I think people would be better served by giving what they desire. Give the love, give their monies, give their efforts, give their wisdom, give their guidance, and eliminate the expectations of return. It's only there that we experience disappointment. Something doesn't come back. But my observation of the universe seems to support the idea that give without expectation, selfless giving, and you can narrow it down to whatever it is that you desire. And the universe will respond, but not always in the way that you anticipated. We can't always see the connection. But live this. The laws of abundance. There isn't a shortage of anything. Everything is available in abundance. It just doesn't always live up to your expectations. Karma, it's really difficult to understand the disparate events in your life that are somehow linked together with karmic debt, karmic repayal, karmic benefits for selfless acts, for the giving that we spoke of earlier. It's really not. You have to be hyper vigilant and to start connecting the dots. But at the same time, give and take. Reciprocal, isn't it? It seems like it would be reciprocal, but many times it develops into a tug of war. But there's no negotiating with Mother Nature. She giveth as she giveth, and she taketh as she taketh, without prejudice. And she's an equal opportunity employer in the sense that she treats one and all, rich and poor, emperor and slave, are all equally subject to what we see as her ravages, her earthquakes, her typhoons, her storms, her tsunamis, her whatever, her droughts, her floods. We tend to give them a reason in the vain hope, once again, that somehow things would make sense to us on an intellectual, emotional, physical, social, political level, which indeed is not going to happen. What's seen as a curse can also be a cleansing. When mankind is done with his expression on this planet, either because he's brought it upon himself, probably because he's brought it on himself, as we're well on our way to destroying our beautiful planet. And there will come a time when Mother Nature will just burp and we'll be wiped off the face of the earth. A tragedy for humankind, but a blip in the spectrum of time for our planet. And trust me, Mother Nature not only will be fine without us, but quite possibly, and most likely, probably, much better off without us. And who's to say that if we return to a fireball, the earth returns to a fireball that it once was, that it doesn't cool and collect waters, and life leaves the sea and goes onto the land. And how will this progress? Will indeed humanity come back as the top? Speculation, right? Basically idle speculation. But the blessings, let's talk about what Mother Earth gives us. She gives us sustenance, she gives us water, she gives us incredible sunrises and sunsets. She gives us beautiful forests, the mountains, the clouds. And what do we give her? Not much, except grief. Buildings exploit her resources, poison her air, muddy her water. But in the end, she'll still be supreme. And we'll see that while we thought we were gaining something, we were actually losing. And indeed, this just might be the way of all gain. Gaining can become a loss. And the interesting nature of things is that loss becomes a gain. So the value systems that we put on Mother Earth in her giving and taking is all on us. In our attempt to make sense out of seeming chaos, to impose order on randomness. This is the history of humankind. Without thousands of years, without much success, I might add. Most of our explanations, most of our understanding is ultimately quite shallow. This leads me to what's been happening on the Big Island, Hawaii, the biggest island of the Hawaiian chain, in the Kilauea volcano, affecting Puna area of a huge earthquake, 6.9, many aftershocks. This has been going on for weeks, and new eruptions popping up daily from one of the most active volcanoes in the world. It looks like Mother Nature's taking. She's taking people's homes. She's destroying the roads, our buildings, our infrastructure. Seems like she's taking it away. But if you look carefully, if you go to Volcanoes National Park and look at lava flows from 150 years ago, you'll see an incredible moonscape. But here and there, remarkably through cracks and fissures, green has started to grow. And it has a specific order as the things come up. Observable, documentable order of life returning, of green coming back. And in the end, over a course of years, new, fresh life emerges. This is what started out as appearing to be, from our point of view, taking, becomes giving. And the big island is actually growing. It's growing because of the lava. So while lava is destroying some forms of life, some things, making it with poisonous gases, basically inhabitable. Ooh, for human life. Most of the people from that area have evacuated, have left their homes, in some cases, pets. Because the animals, trust me, domestic animals, when that earthquake came, who knows where they ran to? They were terrified and they ran off. Well, I have a good friend, John Martin, a human design teacher, sensei, and please check him out on Human Design Hawaii, John Martin. You might enjoy it. He's a kick. He's a character. But he's chosen to not evacuate. He's chosen to stay behind. He has his studio. He broadcasts worldwide. Great studio. This just been completed in the Pune area, 2 or 3 miles from the most active part of the eruption. And other than his cat being totally freaked, totally scared, he's doing quite well. He remains behind to see what life will bring his way. Well, I communicated to him, but I waited 2 weeks after the event because I know he'd be inundated with people who would do the social niceties. Hope you're safe. Hope all is well. Well, all isn't well. And hope is a pretty much useless human, where's my word? It's cliche, it's a social nicety, but basically, hope is meaningless. In today's parlance, it is what it is. So while we're not with hope, hoping for anything, in my opinion, is a great big waste of breath. And when we had a 6.4, he had a 6.9, significantly larger earthquake than we had in Hualien. And I was flooded with concerned friends, hoping all is well. And it gets, while you appreciate their concern, it gets tedious and repetitive to answer. So I started keeping mine really short. Everything, all's well. 2 words, and I just send the same message basically to everyone. But with John, because he's going through this, I reached out to him and I didn't give him any hopes. I didn't send him any hopes. I sent him aloha, Hawaiian for love. I said, no need to return, no need to respond. I'm just reaching out. Cheers. And I was quite surprised. He responded pretty rapidly. And he shared with me what a burden it had been dealing with everybody's redundant social niceties. And he kind of appreciated mine, and he chose to respond. So I thought it would take it one step farther. I shared with him my experience. The first time I really shared with anybody that my experience of the earthquake. We live on the 11th floor, really shake. I had been up teaching that night, my one night a week that I teach, and come home and didn't settle down. I'm a early to bed, early to rise kind of guy. But for that night, for some reason that night, I talked with my wife, and she's more of a night owl. She stays up a lot later than I do. And we talked a little bit, and then I went and laid on the bed, and laid on my back, and just kind of did my unwinding, my informal meditation, my preparation for sleep. It takes me an hour or two before of resting, before sleep graces me. And the first of a series of earthquake hit, 5.96, and I saw my wife braced in the doorway with both hands pressed up against the doorway on one knee. And she told me, people outside are all running out of the buildings, all the people on the street, even though it was 1 a.m., everybody's running outside with no sense of order or no place where they're going. And I felt just as safe as I was ever going to be laying on my bed. And she stayed there because we had a series of aftershocks, and our kitty, Pepper, he disappeared. His eyes were so big, and he was on the bed with me, and he just sped away. I don't know where he went. And we talked for about 45 minutes, went through a series of pretty good quakes, and then a short burst, the 6.4. Instead of up and down, it went sideways. Everything we owned crashed to the floor. Every furniture, everything that could be broken was broken. But we were okay. I stayed on my bed, and she stayed in the doorway, and she looked at me, and it was just a look of terror on her face. She looked at me and says, "What are you doing? You're waiting to die? You didn't move, you didn't get up, you just lay there." And I thought it was, she always knows what I'm thinking. This woman is incredible. She always knows what I'm thinking, so I don't need to say much. And in this case, I was helpless to offer her any security, any safety. And in my heart, I know there's no such thing as security. Moment to moment, anything could happen. But there's no sense saying these words out loud, because women turn to men for at least a veil of security, even if it's a false sense of security that they would see right through on more lucid moments. But in the moment, we both stayed right where we were to see what was next. And eventually, what got me up is concern for our cat Pepper. Where's the kitty? And I spent quite a while rummaging through the broken mess that would take me 3 days to clean up, to find him wedged in the tiniest space between the heaviest chest of drawers that we had. and got him out. Claws everywhere. He was reluctant to leave that space, but I wanted to try to comfort him, and I knew that he could comfort my wife. She loves him so much, and she was worried about him. And she was able to have him sit at her feet and pet him and reassurance for both of them. But in this fierce, incredible event, I was so impressed with her courage. She didn't cry, she didn't freak out, she was alarmed, but she dealt with it. Incredible strength. Beautiful. So I shared this story with John, and he has a cat who is also freaked out, so that's a common bond. Other than the study of human design, and those of you that aren't familiar with it, I really recommend that it's something that you might explore. So the second email to John was, the heading for the message was, "It's a good day to die," from the Chief Dan George Dustin Hoffman Western from the 70s probably, about Custer's Last Stand, about the Battle of Little Bighorn, and the blind chief is walking right through the battle, and Dustin is trying to help him, Dustin's character, and he's just, it's a great day to die, right through the middle of the battle. So, one of the things that I've learned about life is that I want to die well. Because I have the reassurance that we really are born or died, we just change forms. And that takes away all fear, doesn't it? If you know that part of you is eternal. And the part that, unless you're really aware, that you won't even recognize as you. It's only through intense self-inquiry that you know the you that continues to live. Has absolutely nothing to do with the egoic you. So I shared this with John. And again said, no need to answer. Just wanted to say, I'm with you, dude. And it's a good day to die. Well, I got an immediate response telling me that the single road linking him to life beyond his house, to groceries, had been inundated by 12 meters of lava. So he's effectively cut off. He still has power by some miraculous. He's still doing his work. He's going on with his life. But he ended the message with, yes, it's a good day to die. Hopefully, I'll be able to give my blessings to all that it afforded me, this existence. And I laughed when I read that. I said, hey, you better get on that, dude, you know? So it only looks from the human perspective that Mother Nature gives and takes. It's only by our Rubik cube that we assign meaning to the essentially meaningless. Better than meaningless. All meaning. All encompassing. So take a look around you. Share your blessings now. Because there is no tomorrow. Thank you.